check out the next one. Armor Brigade. The Armor Brigade. Recon. Yeah, no. We then have Cav Scouts. For a second I thought this was bigger than it actually was. And this is basically just like recon infantry. They're decently stealthy, and they have a javelin, which is all again considered top attack. And it has terminal guidance. It's not fire and forget like the javelin is in real life, but it does have terminal guidance. So that's interesting. M4A1s, M203s, javelins. And then we have a tank. We have a tank in the recon tab. It's ridiculous and I love it so much. I know it makes no sense. I don't care. I love it. And it's also, they cut the cost down to just 300, which is nice, instead of like, I think it was like 310. I just love how it's covered in a camo net. No upgrade options, unfortunately. But, yeah. And then we have the Bradley CFV, or Cavalry Fighting Vehicle, I believe. The M3A2 variant specifically, so this has the TOW 2A. You do have the option to mount a jammer above what I believe is the gunner sight. And you do have the option of mounting Busk, which does give you a little bit extra durability. Then you have the M3A3 variant, notable for having, among other things, the Commander's Independent Viewer over here. You have regular Busk, and then you also have the Busk 3 as an option, which gives you even more protection. You have the option of throwing on an active protection system. Oh, and it's worth noting you get the TOW 2B this time. And you can even upgrade the engine. The problem is that it's now 145 points, which is a little steep. Although you don't appear to have a pintle mount. Okay. And then we have the B-Fist. This replaced the M981 as basically a sort of artillery fire, not strictly fire support, but kind of like a spotter. That's what this Sodden Great Big Thing is. You do have a laser designator. Bushmaster. You do not have any missiles. That's worth noting. You can mount Iron Fist, which I would honestly recommend you do, because active protection system good. You do have the option of mounting Busk and Busk 3. Particularly if you're going to use this thing in an especially active role, having that extra protection will help. For extra view range, or an engine to make it go vroom, because vroom is good. You can't carry people in it, but I look at this for this thing? Can't remember. So yeah. And then you have the M981 Fist V, which is basically, it's like the M901, but instead of having the hammerhead module with the toes, it has this, which is basically used for things like range finding, finding things to shoot at and whatnot. That's worth noting. That is specifically designed to resemble the hammerhead module from the M901, to keep the vehicle from being easily identified and picked out, and subsequently picked off by the other guys. And you do have a 50 cal. You have an option for cage armor and smoke. I mean, it's got good view range. You've got a laser designator. For only 70 points, that's not too bad, all things considered. Then you have infantry. And the infantry here is pretty simple. You've got mechanized engineers, which engineers in this game are basically act like an assault force. Small D, or presumably small disposable. Oh wait, no, go back. I didn't check this out, did I? But yeah, like I said, the engineers are basically an assault force. So their job is to do things like take buildings and whatnot. And then you have a mechanized rifleman. This is basically the backbone infantry of the squad. Or, well, kind of. None of these squads are necessarily bigger or more specialized than the other. And it seems that, with the possible exception of mechanized engineers, you're really, really encouraged to just use them together. Because you get the same number of them, I think like 4 each, and they're all the same size. So, 84, it's disposable. You get an M249 and 5 M4s. So pretty basic. Mechanized Rifleman AA, you get an M249 and a Stinger, FIM-92, for presumably protecting ground forces. And then you get the Mechanized Rifleman MMG, which doesn't have the same number of AT4s, but what they do have are 2 M240s. So I'm guessing that's like suppressive fire and whatnot. And then vehicles. And this thing has a pretty big vehicle tab. This is like the vehicle specialization after all. So you've got your basic not Humvee, nuts. M113 is what I'm trying to say. You can swap the 50 cal out for Mark 19 at no extra cost. And then you can throw on some cage armor and smoke if you are so inclined. Gives a little bit extra protection. And then you have the Assault Breacher at 200 points base. If memory serves, this is only like 130 points base. So, Miklix, which can only be fired while stationary. And they did increase the aim time. An extra 5 points for Mark 19. An extra 25 points for reactive armor. I mean, that's 230. And sure, it's tough. Very tough, in fact. But I'm not sure if that's worth it so much anymore. The idea that I toyed with using this as is similar to the CEV as a sort of super heavy infantry support platform. But and then you have the AMPV. And I specifically had the Mark 19 on here for better use against infantry. Although you'd expect something like a Crows, honestly. And then you have the AMPV. So... oh, wait. I forgot to... I keep forgetting to do this. The AMPV, which can fit 12 guys. And just has an M2 Browning and decent protection. You can go with Mark 19 for a little bit extra, or a Bushmaster, or which, granted, does have decent ammunition storage, but not great. And you do get a coax M240. Or you can go with a Javelin, which is, again, top attack. You only get 4 of them, though. But yeah, that looks pretty solid. Armor protection. You can go with reactive armor, which is great. Or you can mount an active protection system on top of your reactive armor at 135. I mean, granted, at 135, the darn thing's pretty expensive, but, well. Also, I'm pretty sure that radar is being blocked by the rack. But whatever. Once you throw all this on, though, you've got a pretty solid IFV, all things considered. Oh, I mean, we'll compare it to the Bradley in a few minutes. The A2 Abrams. Well, wait. The A2 Abrams. Nothing super special here. You get the option between Tusk or Tusk 2 for an extra 20 or 30 points. And yeah, I mean, it does give you an extra Browning, so that'd be fun to play with. The M1A2 SEP situation. If memory serves, it's like situation. It's not survivability enhancement package. It's like situation enhancement package or something like that. Situational awareness enhancement package. Well, I know it's not situational awareness enhancement package, but it's like situation something. Again, Tusk 2, or Tusk 2 for this the SEP. I'm pretty sure yeah. Then you have the SEP V2, which could mount Tusk, Tusk 2, a trophy, Tusk and trophy, or Tusk 2 and the trophy. So. Which... So the SEP V2 is just slightly less, or is just slightly cheaper. Oh well. And then you have the M1A2 SEP V3. Oh wait. And then you have the M1A2 SEP V3, which is the latest version. I could have sworn that in a really early version of the game there was a SEP V4, but I guess I was wrong. We have a low profile RWS, which is nice. And then we've got like Tusk, Tusk 2, Trophy, Tusk and Trophy, and then Tusk 2 and Trophy. And they actually reduced the price. It's not 400, it's only, haha, 385. That's not bad. And then we have the basic A2 Bradley, which all the A2 Bradley variants have the TOW 2A. All the A3 Bradley variants or A4s have the TOW 2B, which I think is nice. We have a jammer, which could be kind of useful, I guess. And we have a busk kit for a admittedly pretty cheap vehicle. Even if it isn't super great. We have the engineering version of the Bradley. Again, a jammer. And a busk kit. Which is actually slightly cheaper. Huh. Generally, like, if you're going to be using this thing to carry engineers, which is about the only thing you can... Or actually, that's literally the only thing you can do with it, because... Unless they changed the deck building screen, you can only associate certain vehicles with certain infantry squads, and only within the same specialization. So, you can only fit the mech engineers into these guys, and these guys will only take the mech engineers. Not in actual gameplay, but in the deck building screen, which is a bit annoying. And then you have the regular Bradley, the A3, well, I said regular Bradley, the A3 Bradley. You've got an upgraded engine for more speed. You've got an active protection system. And you do have Busk 3, which poses an interesting comparison between this and this, which is 10 points more, has a bigger gun, that hits harder, and it has a missile system that can be fired on the move. I'm genuinely wondering if this is actually better than the A4 Bradley. I honestly think it might be. And then you have the A3 engineer vehicles. The only exception to what I said about the tows was the engineer vehicles, because the engineer vehicles have the bunker busters version of the tow. Although they are cheaper, which I guess is nice. Although I wonder if I were to take this and I were to throw on the regular bus, it's about the same price. Huh. Okay. Then you have the M901A3, which is basically just a portable tow launcher. So. Nothing particularly crazy. Then you have support. You have an M113 mortar carrier with a 120mm mortar. You can change from mostly HE or mostly smoke. You can customize the self-defense weapon. And then you can give it cage armor if you are so inclined. Which you might actually want to think about up armoring your mortar vehicles, even if you don't up armor the rest of your artillery. That mortar round was far too small for that tube. Since mortars have a shorter range, they're more likely to get closer to the combat zone, and thus there's a higher chance they get blown up. The M109A6 Paladin, which has HE, smoke, and then laser guided rounds. So decent range. And you also have a 50 cal. The M109A7, which has the 50 cal on a Crows. It has rocket assisted rounds to give it even longer range. Slightly more expensive. Excuse me. Well, you also have cluster here, which I suppose can be useful as a anti-armor option. This, you have an armor package to give a little bit extra survivability. And then you have a weapons package with the Iron Thunder, which gives you a lot of range. So then again, look at that massive barrel. It's a 58 caliber noob tube. Then you have a mortar carrier version of the AMPV, which you can also throw an active protection system on, if you are so inclined. Again, this may not necessarily be a bad idea if you're going to have your mortars so close to the rest of your if you can have your mortars so close to the rest of your forces. And you also have guided rounds. The end result, though, is a pretty expensive platform, especially when you can compare it to the M113 variant. That said, though, I think the active protection system might be a little bit much. And without the active protection system, you get the same cost as a fully upgraded AMPV regardless. And then the BVADs, which is basically just an M113 with an M61 Vulcan rotary cannon mounted on the front. This thing can engage cruise missiles. You also have an option for cage armored smoke. So. And then you have the M270 MLRS, specifically the M270A1. They've got regular MLRS rockets, or you can give them cluster warheads, or you can give them ATACMS, which are ballistic missiles that are cluster, and they can be intercepted. So, the M270A2, these fire Gimler's rockets, which can be laser guided. Cluster warheads, or precision strike missiles, which are very accurate, and you have 4 of them available. Oh, I thought the precision strike missiles cost 0. They do not, they're expensive. This thing is amphibious, which is interesting. You can mount a defensive machine gun to it. And then you have the linebacker. This is basically just a Bradley, but with the tow launcher removed and replaced with that to fire stingers. You can upgrade the engine. Go with Busk 3 for extra survivability. And then either M-Shored stingers, oh, this thing can't engage fixed-wing aircraft. Or with the Hellfires, which are, again, a fairly multi-purpose option. Although, I'd like to point out that if you do decide to take the Hellfires, this thing cannot engage fixed-wing aircraft, apparently. Because the 30mm apparently The 30 mil doesn't have that option. Which I suppose is kind of interesting. I'd be more inclined to take the stingers. If only so I have something that can cover my bases. And then with the Patriot Pack 2. Firing some very large missiles. Can go up to 4 missiles. You can up armor it if you so choose. And you do have an option for a self-defense weapon. Alright. That's all very interesting. It was mostly price changes compared to the November 2024 beta.